So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining the session. We're excited. We have a great topic. What I would like to do is, if you have any, Michelle actually has a bunch of polls. She also has a lot of feedback throughout the session, which is she's going to ask questions. So please use the chat. I see a lot of you have already used it. And then at the end, we are going to have good amount of time to address any questions. So, I'll pass it over to Michelle.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. I know it's lunchtime. I hope you just had a great session here at ProductCamp. Feel free to eat your lunch if you need to while you're listening. I want you to be awake and alert and maybe stand up and move around just a little bit to wake yourself up. But I'm really grateful to have you all here with me today. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to our ProductCamp sponsors before we get into the talk. Sequent Training, Pragmatic Institute, and ProdPad, and I believe Sequent is actually doing some giveaways during our product camp, so check out the expo page and you can learn more about our sponsors, but really happy to have them here so we could have a free conference for everyone. All right, and like Aniket said, there's a poll that I'd like you to fill out as we go through the session. If you go to the participants panel and you click on the polls, I'd love your feedback on that one. It's really relevant to the topic today. All right, so what I want to talk to you about is how great product management skills make us more resilient. And I'll tell you a little bit about me and what brought me here and why this topic is near and dear to my heart. I've worked the past 22 years in travel technology, working for a wholesale tour operator that creates vacation packages. And when COVID hit in March, we ended up going on furlough. So my product team went on furlough, and I've been furloughed now since April. And my most recent job there was director of product management. And so I've spent a couple years in product there. And prior to that, working in roles that really were product centric, even though I wasn't called a product manager. So I basically ran most of the shared service operations that did all of the internal input of hotel contracts and working with our third-party providers like Disney World and Southwest Vacations. And so I was in charge of those users who entered in all of that data and our internal system and how that system needed to work. So really spent a lot of my career with a product mindset, and then ultimately transitioned onto our technology team as director of product management, working with our third-party providers and all the APIs and interfaces that went along with them. So I've spent the bulk of the last 22 years really with that mindset, looking at what do our users need, what should the technology do. So when I got furloughed in April, it was a really big shock to me. I'd been working, since I was 14 years old, so not having a job was a pretty big deal. And I really had to look at life differently. And in October, I actually was officially let go. So I am looking for my next opportunity in life. And so one of the reasons why I'm here is also to network, but to talk to you about kind of what I've learned this summer and with my adventures through COVID and how I've been able to really apply the skills that I've learned from having that product mindset to my life that's helped me kind of be resilient and bounce back. So I kind of looked at all of the challenges that I've had this summer, and I want you guys to think about this too as we look in how things have been changing this year. And the top 5 skills that I feel like we have from being great product managers that really have helped me through this year. So I'd love for you to put comments in the chat as we go along, your observations, your thoughts about what I'm talking about, and then definitely add your questions in the Q&A, and we will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. All right, so before we get into the top 5 skills, I wanted to put a quote out there from Marty Kagan. I think most of you know who he is. If you haven't read his book, Inspired, I highly recommend it. But this quote just kind of sticks with me as I look at, what makes us great as product managers. But product management is about insights and judgment, both of which require a sharp mind. So hard work is also necessary, but for this job, it's not sufficient. So basically what that's saying is, to be a great product manager, you don't have to just work hard. You also have to have a sharp mind. You have to look at things logically. You have to be able to derive insights. You have to be able to think critically. And use good judgment throughout your career. So I think this is super relevant. Love this quote from Marty. All right, so top 5 skills that make us great. And these aren't in necessarily a specific priority order, but the first one I want to talk about is prioritizing. And I think that every day, you guys know this, every day great product managers have to prioritize. And in my opinion, we can prioritize like a boss. So when you look at all of the things that happen to us both at work and in life, we have a unique ability to critically look at them and determine what is most priority, what's going to drive our product vision, what is going to take us to the next level, what's going to make our users happy. So when you look at times of great challenge and how you are resilient, the most resilient people can see through the clutter and focus on the things in life that are truly important. So just like when we're creating a product vision, prioritizing our list of features, we also need to create our life vision, right? So you're looking at things at home, and you're looking at all of the stuff coming at us with COVID, all of the changes, the daily things that are coming at us, and how do you sift through that and really find the right things that need to be that you need to focus on, right? It's not just focusing on things, it's focusing on the most important things. So I'd like for you to take a minute and chat a little bit about what are your top priorities right now? How are you leveraging your product management skills to prioritize your life too, not just your work? So I'd love to hear from you on that. But prioritization to me is one of the big skills. And in my summer, when you look at the way my life has evolved with COVID, I've really had to do a lot of reprioritizing. I'm a single mom with 2 teenage boys. I don't think I said that before. They're 13 and they're 17. So quarantine's been a lot of fun. My 13-year-old actually ended up in the hospital around 4th of July, and his liver was failing, and we didn't know why. But I basically had to rearrange every priority in my life to be at the hospital with him. And with COVID, no one else could be there. So I basically had to shift and look at everything differently and look at what was most important, right? To drive my life vision, to make sure my son stayed healthy, to still stay on top of everything else in my life, and then somewhere in there to prioritize my own self-care so I could be there for him. So during that time, I was really grateful for the experience I've had being in product and having a product mindset that really helped me look at, as much data as I had, as much of the user experience that I wanted to build for my family that would really help me get to those right priorities. Right, so prioritization. Oh, great, we've got some good comments in here. So balancing work and family, yep. Building your personal brand, that's important, especially right now. And I know some of you who are on the session here might also be in job transition. So it's really important to prioritize our personal brand, to make sure we're putting ourselves out there in the best possible light so that we can navigate and figure out where we go next in our careers. Excellent. Thank you guys for joining in on the chat. Awesome. All right, so prioritization, that's a huge one. I think that good PMs are very strong in prioritization, so important in life as well. All right, here's the next one. Just say no. We're good at saying no. When in product management, there's so many ideas that come at us from all of our stakeholders, from our peers, from our own research. And it's just how do you navigate and figure out what to say no to and what to say yes to? So we know how to say no, even when it's hard. And typically we're great at saying no, even in all sorts of unique ways. So sometimes our no is actually not a no, it's a not now, right? I'm going to reprioritize this and I'm going to put it for further down, down the road, but it'll stay on my roadmap. But having this skill and being in all those meetings with our stakeholders where we've had to say no, say no to the ugly baby idea, right? We've all heard that before. But it gives us the courage to say no to the things in life that don't serve us too. And for me this year, I've really looked at, there's been so much stuff on social media, so much negativity around us. I think you guys probably see that as well in your own lives. But it was really an overhaul of my social media feeds and my email, and just looking at, okay, what part of this doesn't serve me? Which of these features, right, aren't in my life vision? Which things aren't taking me to where I want to be? What do I need to say no to? So I actually, rearrange the algorithms on all of my social feeds to follow positive groups, to follow leadership, and learning groups and learning opportunities, versus people that constantly posted negative, or strong opinions that maybe didn't align with my core values. So we have to say no in life too. And I think the skills that we've built as product managers really help us in that area as well. So what are you saying no to? So give me some comments in the chat about what you're saying no to this year that's helping you stay focused, helping you stay maybe a little more sane and centered outside of work, in your home life. Love that. Yes, 5-year-olds. Our kids can definitely be best at that, and they'll say no until they're blue in the face, right? So I have 2 boys at home, and I've heard that word a lot this summer. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, and stop me if I'm going too fast here. I know I can't see all of you, but if you want to just put in the chat if you want me to slow down or go back over something that I've said. I sometimes tend to talk quickly, so would like constructive feedback. All right, so this next one, when you look at this, I bet you can all guess what this is. So looking at user experience. So we want our product to be usable, valuable, useful, credible, all of those things. So when we're in work mode and we're building new technology, building new processes, we want to make sure that that is useful to our user base. And that skill also applies at home. So great PMs know what their users want. We know how to read people. We know how to dig into what our users need and create a vision to give them a product that will exceed their expectations. And when you look at your own life as a product, you really can look at it as a product. You could even create a life roadmap if you wanted to, and look at all the things that get you to where you want to be. So you can use those skills to be in tune with your users in all different areas of life as well. So with your family and your friends, with your networking groups, virtual sessions, even during interviews. And we talked about building your personal brand. So really knowing yourself and knowing how to put yourself out there is also part of that skill set, like being in tune with other people and what they need. So some of the ways kind of this can manifest in life is, the people you're living with at home during quarantine. And when you look at how does your life need to change, right? What do the people that live with you or live around you need from you, or how can you build the best experience within your home so that so that really you can power through it. It's a really tough time we're in right now, and it's hard for all of us. And I think sometimes we don't give enough credit to the skills that we have and that maybe we're leveraging in ways that we hadn't even really consciously thought about it. So think about this as you go back and you go home tonight or you log off tonight. And yeah, definitely, especially with teenagers. So how can you make your home environment more user friendly? I also know that as product managers, product centric mindset, as I'm on virtual sessions or networking sessions, I'm always thinking about, how could this tool be a little bit more helpful for me? How could I maybe restructure my home office, or, how I'm communicating to make it a better experience? And I think when your brain naturally goes in that direction, it gives you a little bit more control over your life too, because you feel like you are able to change things and make decisions that make life a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. No to your kids, yes to your wife. I think that's a good a good way to do it, Taylor. Thank you. Awesome. All right, so basically when you think about this, think about your user experience in your life. So your life is your ultimate product. So you're the user of the content and the influences that you allow in it. So choose them wisely. All right. And here's the next one. And this one is really important this year. I know we feel a lot of tension. We feel a lot of negativity around us. It's been a really tough year, stressing, all kinds of different emotions. But really being calm is a superpower. And I think in lots of ways, being in product management, we are superheroes in this area. So when you look at it, we know how to be calm under pressure. So we go into these stakeholder meetings and we talk to our users, and there's always people with strong opinions on what they want our product to do or to be. And we know how to be diplomatic and anticipate our audience. And this is critical. It's a critical skill in life, and even more so now. So if we can be quiet in the face of adversity, it not only builds resilience, but it also helps us overall have a more positive mindset and just be happier. So finding that calm and that stillness and the ability to, handle that pressure diplomatically is a big deal. And it's a skill set that you should be proud to have and try to channel as much as you can. So for me, when you look at this and using this in your own life, I'll give you an example. So my 13-year-old, we went through the scare at the hospital, ended up that he actually has an autoimmune disease, but we've got it under control. I'm super grateful for that. Then I have a 17-year-old who's a sports kid, and COVID has been especially hard on him. He hadn't been able to play sports all spring, and he normally would have been in baseball. And finally in June, the team decided that they would play baseball. We had restrictions in place and things. His second game, he dislocated his shoulder. So he was out for almost the rest of the season. So he had physical therapy for 5 weeks, and he went back and he was able to play in the tournament game. And guess what happened? Dislocated his shoulder again. So twice he dislocated his shoulder, ended up having surgery in September. So my 17-year-old, he couldn't play football this fall, so it's really been tough for him. But he's recovering well now. But when you talk about being calm under pressure, me as his mom, primary caregiver, having to take him from the ballpark to the ER twice this year, and he's in extreme pain. His shoulders popped out. You can see it. It was horrible. But I channeled that strength that I've gained from so many times having to be in these meetings and really think about, how should I handle this situation? And I think it's given me a lot more strength and resilience. And I think all of us in product, we have it in us to remain calm under pressure, to not, get sucked into all the negativity that we have around us. So the other thing too, for me, being unemployed, I'm sure some of you feel it too, really having to figure out how to not let that freak me out too much, right? I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, because, this session, the track is called the messy middle. We're in a messy part of life right now, but it's really been helpful in that area too, because I pause and I reflect and I think about, what's my right next step? What is the process? What's my roadmap to find my next role, to find the right company fit, the right culture, and the right move for me to continue to support my family. So I think this is really important. The ability to pause and remain calm is invaluable. So really be proud of this skill, and you're probably already using it and maybe not even really thinking about it, but look at how can you apply the things that I'm talking about here today into your own life, and take them back and help you gain a little bit more control over a situation that feels very uncontrollable for all of us. So stay calm as much as you can. All right, so the next one, and we talked about, I just mentioned that I love how ProductCamp broke this out into tracks, and my session is in track 2, the messy middle. So you look at this slide, it's very messy, but where I'm probably going with this is constant change and transformation and redirection and shifting. Really that's the essence of product management, right? We know when to pivot. And those of you maybe in my generation, you just hear Ross's voice from Friends as he's carrying the couch up the staircase, right? But we know when to pivot. So iteration is a way of life in product management. So we know that we need to continually adapt and we need to pivot. We have to refine and improve our product. So the same is true in life. So if our lives are our product, we need to come into it with the perception and the mindset that we're continually evolving. Nothing is perfect, right? So we are on a journey that we're learning as we go. And every time we fall down, we pick ourselves back up and we find a way to power through, and we change and we adapt. So this has been kind of a big mantra for me this year, especially with finding myself no longer employed, right? So since I was 14, I've been employed. So my first job was at a Chinese restaurant, bagging up to-go orders in the kitchen, and then a Dairy Queen, and then college jobs, and then into my career, which really I've been with the same organization since just out of college. So, I had to really look at my life and say, how do I pivot? And I chose to look at it in a really positive way. And I think as product managers, we do that a lot too. We don't look at, a setback as a failure. We look at it as an opportunity to learn and gain feedback and move forward and make things better and stronger. And so I've taken the opportunity to kind of reinvent myself. And since I got furloughed, I've actually been facilitating group sessions with people from all over the world on how to lead productively through crisis, how to communicate authentically. And I teach and coach on positive mindset and resilience. And it's really been rewarding. And when I look at COVID and I look at all of the tough things that are coming with it, I also try to find the positive things in it. And I think, when else would I have had this opportunity to have this amount of time to be able to be passionate in what I want to do to inspire other people, and even to come and talk to you today in Product Camp Dallas? This would not have been possible without things going virtual. I'm in Wisconsin. I don't know if I told you guys that, but I'm not even near Dallas. So I'm just grateful to be here and grateful to have been voted to have this session, and just wanted to come and have a really real talk with you. So I think knowing when to pivot is critical right now. And I think all the experience that we have as product managers puts us in that mindset. We have a continual mindset of, mistakes aren't failure. They're learning opportunities. We're learning and growing. And just like our product, life isn't perfect, and it never will be. So we just need to embrace that, and live into it. All right, so a quick recap here. So just wanted to go through it. So the top 5 skills as I see them, and if you think of any that I missed, I'd love to hear your feedback, or put a question in the Q&A. Let's have a little bit of interactive discussion after we wrap this part. But we prioritize like a boss. We sift through the clutter. We find the things that are most important. We know how to say no, even when it's hard. We know what our users want. We're calm under pressure, and we pivot and adapt. So look at all those skills. Look at how you manifest them in your life and leverage them. And be proud of that, and be proud of how you can use them and how you can stay resilient and find more resilience and positivity by just knowing that you have all of these great skills. So I would like to, we can take it over to Q&A. Do we have questions in the Q&A? Let's see, did everyone answer the poll?
Yeah, again, everybody, like if you click on the poll, make sure you have answered it, or if you have any questions, you can put it in the Q&A, or you can even put it in the chat. I can start us off. I had a couple of questions. So Michelle, if you're ready.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the first one. You talked about prioritization. So help us, and like both in work and also in life, as you prioritize, how do you sort of take emotions out of it? Like how do you sort of think about doing, like you're attached, it's your baby. How do you sort of prioritize it, but also take the emotions out? So
that's a tough one. It is very tough to get past your emotions. And I think a lot of it really comes down to self-awareness too. So you have to know what your triggers are and kind of what are your hot buttons. But for me, you have to try to focus on your goal, right? So here's my end goal, and here's where I want to be. Kind of lay out what are all the things that are coming at me that I have to decide which ones come first. And then I really have to pause and breathe, right? and then look at which things are going to serve me to get to my end goal. But it can be very hard. You have to do it when you're in a good place, when you're in a calm place as much as possible. So if you're kind of worked up and anxious, you almost have to step back from that and do some breathing and and find a way to calm yourself a little bit. But you're absolutely right. That is one of the biggest challenges, is taking the emotion out of it.
Excellent. And like again, if anybody has questions, please type in or put it in the Q&A. I guess I have another one till we wait for some more. You talked about saying no, right? And as product managers, we have sort of said no several times. And what you said was saying no doesn't mean no, it means no at this time, right? And so talk to us about, like maybe an example, how you sort of like say no, but show some empathy.
Sure.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of experience with that, both at work even and at home. And I think the key is being able to differentiate between whether the idea is a good idea at all versus whether it doesn't contribute to the product vision ever. So I think it's understanding there are things that you say this would be awesome to have, but it just doesn't fit with where we want to go this year. But helping your users understand why that's not a good idea. So I'm trying to think of a specific example that I could give. Like back when I worked in travel. So I'll give a work example. We worked with lots of different hotel providers, lots of different companies, and there was an opportunity to add a Verbo product to our lineup. And when we looked at it, there was a lot of different things that come with it, a lot of new regulations and tax implications and everything. And we said, as a business, we definitely want to get into that market, but it doesn't make sense this year because we were going through a merger and there were a lot of other things, and it would have been too risky from a cultural perspective and just a resource perspective to be able to do that. But we said not now, and I think very often in product we can say not now, but we understand this is valuable and we're still keeping it on the list versus just saying, okay, we don't agree that this will ever align with where we want to go, so we aren't going to put it on a list. I don't believe in putting it on a list just for the sake of putting it on a list. And I think that often gets us into trouble, and we get these mile-long product roadmaps, right, with things on them that we never ever do.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's sort of, like I think great example. And I think I can add to it in a way that we've had similar things where we get asked for it, but we just don't have, as a company, don't have the skill set to execute on it.
Sure.
But you have to somehow convince the management saying, hey, we, although it makes business sense, but as you pointed out, not now. Let's figure out a way, let's plan for it so that we are then ready to actually, not just put it on the list for the heck of putting it on the list, but actually executing it. And,
Right. On a personal level, my boys wanted to get a hot tub this year. I unfortunately had to say not now to that because it didn't fit in my life vision for this year.
I see some comments, hack your career like you would any product. Yeah, that like definitely there is, as you pointed out, there are several product management skills that you can apply to your career.
Yeah. Yep. And I see some comments too about saying no and knowing your users is easier at work than at home. And I would agree with that. I definitely think, when you apply these skills to your life, there tends to be a lot more ambiguity. It's harder to find the data to support, especially now with COVID and all the things that come along with it. The data can be tricky, and there's so many different ways to look at things. And I would agree with that. It is harder. These skills that we have lay a really strong foundation, and if we can fall back on them and try to find the pieces that work in our lives, it helps us keep our heads about us. It helps us stay more positive and productive. So that's really why I wanted to talk about this today, because I just think it's so relevant, and there's so much mental strain, and then all these blurred lines between work and home, especially for, like, I shouldn't say especially, but people that have little kids at home and navigating through that and working at home with your children around all the time and just how do you still stay where you feel very confident in your job and you feel very confident in your home life? And no one's perfect. One of the things that I wanted to make sure I point out these skills, because I do feel like they're inherent in good product managers, but none of us are perfect at it. We never, there's times when life overwhelms us, right? I've been overwhelmed a few times this year. And I think the key is that you recognize when that happens and you figure out how to pull yourself out of it, and you lean on your experiences and what have you done really well in the past, and know that this too shall pass. We'll find our way through it. We take it one day at a time and we leverage the skills that we have.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and as one of the key skills for a good product manager is communication. And as you sort of pointed out, there is the COVID, but there's also opportunity for us to sort of leverage, this web presence and leverage it to actually connect, communicate with people, and spread our skills further. So any sort of, I don't see any more questions. Is there any sort of last parting words before we sort of close this down?
No, I want to thank everyone for being here. I hope that you took some things away from this and that you can, be a little bit more aware of these as you're going about your daily lives, and hope I was able to help you a little bit. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Let's go. There's the networking session that's open. So if you want to go
perfect.
network with people, it automatically matches you for about 3 minutes. So everybody grab something to drink, grab lunch, and then see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.